Hey guys, Andrew Shrout here in the sideboard. I'm here with Jim Davis, one of the at-large competitors here at the Players Championship.
That's right.
And we are here to talk about your standard deck.
All right.
So you had an excellent weekend last week in Seattle with...
Mostly excellent. Could have been like a few more spots excellent.
You were like,
sure.
yeah, it was like 2 matches short of excellent.
Yes.
But
yes.
still...
Adequate.
All right, sure. You had an adequate weekend with blue-white control. Adequate enough that you decided to run it back.
Right. So we had like a few days, and I figured I've been playing it. I'm pretty happy with how it positioned. I don't think format's going to change too much.
Okay.
So just jump right back in, basically.
All right, cool. So let's just start from the top and kind of walk us through this deck.
All right, so we got win conditions. Elspeth's obviously the big one. That's basically you win most of your games. And the big difference between blue-black control. So like blue-black didn't have a good win condition, whereas Elspeth's one of the best ones in the format. So then we have Pearl Lake as sort of like an insurance policy. Some of the decks that are playing Thoughtseize, Heroes, Downfall could theoretically kill your 3 Elspeths and leave you with no way to win at all.
Sure.
So it's sort of like an insurance policy. It's also a hedge. Against any control mirror, your percentage to win game 1 would go up like 25% just by having that in your deck.
Okay.
And it's a surprise. People don't see it coming often. So you can ambush attackers occasionally. You can gain life off your gain lands again, your scry lands. So it's not great, but it's fine, and it does its job. So. All right. Then we got Dig as part of the card advantage package. We have Dig, Jason's Ingenuity, which is on the next slide, and Divination. And
it's coming.
That's fine. But yeah, so like that's your card draw. That gets you ahead.
Sure.
Dig's pretty good. It's not amazing. It's no Sphinx's Revelation, but it does what you need it to do. Jason's Ingenuity is the real good one in my opinion.
Okay.
Because it gives you the raw cards you want. And then they're also all instants except for Divination, but it leaves you open for these. And this is where the deck really shines. I think that a lot of the decks in the format are doing a lot of mid-range stuff. They're really like, they're trying to jam their whips and their Siege Rhinos and Hornet Queens and out mid-range each other. And we're just playing efficient 2-mana answers to all their spells.
Just hiding behind the wall of counters, basically.
Right, and like I'm paying 2 to counter your Siege Rhino and 2 to counter your your Whip of Erebos or your Planeswalker, and then I'm going to draw some cards on the side too. So just standard control fare, and just no one's really playing around things like this right now. Everyone's trying to out mid-range each other, so it slides into a pretty good niche where it's good against those decks. And Dissolve's obviously your catch-all. It's a really good one. So the Rats, a lot of lists were playing 4. I quickly found that I wanted 3. The Rat's not great, honestly. It's fine, it cleans up messes, but it costs a lot. And luckily no one's really playing Stormwrath or Starkin right now, as they were before, which is the main predator of playing Wrath, where you were scared to Wrath on turn 5 because they would just play a Stormwrath or a Starkin. There's less of those now, which makes it like even better choice. Hopefully it stays that way. But 3 is fine. It cleans up your messes, but you don't want to be jamming on turn 5 usually. Usually you want to set up for it. Banishing Light's your catch-all. It's been under a little more fire with all the enchantment hate for the whips and stuff, but it's been fine. Last Breath's sort of a necessary evil. It's no Doomblade, but it kills a Rabble Master.
Sure.
Honestly, picking off like an Elvish Mystic or something is fine too. You just want to make sure you're getting to the mid game, and honestly, you gain life off it a lot. A lot of times you hit the mid game and you have an Elspeth without some tokens, but you're low life, and they try and stoke you, and you gain 4.
Okay.
So that works too.
Nice. Little backdoor life gain there.
Right.
And then the engine, as
you said, Ingenuity. Divination's not great, honestly, but you just need a card to sort of like, the games you lose often, you miss a few land drops, or you kind of just stumble in that mid game, and Divination helps you get into that.
Yeah.
And with all your 2-mana counters, you can often play it on turn 5, leaving counter mana open anyway, so it's fine.
And your other card advantage engines, of course, they're powerful, but they don't help you make land drops in the early game.
Exactly.
So
they're more late game engines. So it kind of gets you there essentially. That and the Scrylands, and then Devouring Light's pretty good. It's sort of like a Doomblade effect again. You can like allow a Siege Rhino to resolve and just remove it. It's also really good with Elspeth. I mean, a lot of times you jam your Elspeth, you make your 3 guys, and they go for their attack, and you're able to block 3 guys and hit their Siege Rhino with Devouring Light, and that's really, really good. Yeah. So
I know last week I saw you get pretty tricksy with some Brimazes with it as well.
Brimaz, it's very good at Brimaz too. It's almost unfortunate Brimaz is not good enough for the main deck because it's so good with Brimaz.
And then we're on to the lands.
So land base seems kind of simple. We have 4 extra fetch lands. We have 2 Evolving Wilds and 2 Polluted Deltas to help fuel your dig through times. Because the first thing I found with the deck was the digs they can be hard to cast in early games sometimes. So we got 2 extra Deltas that are islands, and then we have the Evolving Wilds over something like an off-color tri-land. Because also the fixing is very good too. So you have a lot of double cost spells. And then the Tranquil Cove and the Radiant Fountain are huge. Because you gain upwards of 5 or 6 life every game. You start every game with like 25, 26, which is often a full turn or 2. And it seems like it's only a little bit, but it really adds up over the course of a game.
Definitely adds up.
And a lot of times you jam your Elspeth with your 6th land as a Radiant Fountain, it just like makes it ever so harder for your opponent to come back. So I think Scry lines are good too, So as you Evolving Wilds. So.
Can't leave home without four of your temples.
Yeah, I mean that's occasionally, we play Involved Wilds on turn 1 and we're not scrying or anything, but we're like, it's fine. So it works.
Yeah, it works out. Before we get to the sideboard, let's talk a little bit about what drew you to this deck in the first place. Because I know you've been playing this deck basically from the beginning of this standard season. But what was it about it that initially spoke to you? Well,
first, I started playing like 2 months ago, like you said. It was in my article and I wrote about it. And I just hated every deck in standard.
Sure.
I hate mid-range decks. I really hate just dirtily, I'm going to jam my big thing and I'm going to ramp into it with a whatever, and here it is, with decks with no card selection, really. So it's my kind of deck, obviously. And then I played it, and it was just pretty good. I worked through a lot of iterations of it, and then I haven't really changed the list much in the last month or two. I won some IQs with it. And then it just so happened that coming to the Invitational, it just seemed to be really well positioned. It just everyone's just mid-ranging harder and harder and harder, and the Predators in the format are just leaving, and just all these decks that are just soft to counter spells. So it really, and it seemed like with this, again, I was the only person probably playing it in the entire room at the Invitational.
Right.
So I don't expect to see a lot of it this tournament. I don't think anyone else does either. So I'm not really scared of the format changing to fight me in a way.
Yeah. Well, being the only person playing it in a 300-player tournament last week,
of course,
it's pretty crazy. But then this week we have a 16-player tournament.
Of course, but 16 is still 1 and 16. Maybe they'll devote one extra sideboard slot or two.
Sure.
I'm not worried about a new deck coming out that's actually good against me. Everyone's trying to whip, and they're trying to whip hard.
Okay.
I'm happy to just be over here countering their whips.
Let's talk a little bit about the expected metagame, your preparation. Again, 16-player tournament. You know a lot of these guys. A lot of them are on a pretty narrow range. What's your preparation like in terms of what you're expecting to face?
I expect a lot of the same as the Invitational. A lot of whips, a lot of Siege Rhinos, a lot of out mid-ranging. I know Donegan went with the tokens deck. We tried the tokens deck. It seems fine. It didn't seem amazing, So just a lot of mid-range, honestly. Mostly the same. Aggro's kind of by the wayside at the moment. Control kind of is too. So it's really just mid-range all day, every day. So that's mostly it.
All right.
Pretty similar to last weekend.
You're basically just on the fringiest fringe of mid-range. You're so mid-range or control.
Sure.
All right. Let's go through the sideboard cards real quick. We'll basically just go card by card. What's going on with these?
Brimaz is really, really good. Brimaz is so good against the token decks. Obviously, it's a little worse people knowing that I'm playing it now because they usually board out the removal. But against any token deck, if it stays in play for a turn or two, it shuts off Hordling Outburst, and it's really good against Rabble Master. It's good at attacking. You kind of end up playing different games where you have Brimaz post board where you can almost play like a fish deck. You stick the Brimaz, and you play the counter spells and kill them. But it's really, really good. Whelming Wave is a fun piece of tech. I was in the hotel room before the Invitational. I had 3 Nyx Fleerstrams on my board, and they just seemed awful. They're not good against anything. They're good against Brimaz, Rabble Master. There's no aggro decks. It just seemed really bad. And I was like, I just want a card that can block a token. Anything. Anything I can play and just block a 1/1 in the early game. And Omen Speaker was the reasonable solution. It's not a great card, but it's fine. And the Wave was sort of like the third piece, so the second piece to that, where I had the 2 Omen Speakers, and the Wave can clean up all the tokens as well. And then I've had the dream scenario of having an Omen Speaker in play, waving their tokens away, and then recasting the Omen Speaker yet. But I'm sure we'll get there.
Leave no value behind, right?
Exactly. And then Fatal Retribution is a big one against the Planeswalkers that usually come in against you. Nissa is a big one, and it's a good cleanup. So.
All right. The Omen Speakers.
The Omen Speakers, oof, boy. And then the one change from my last week's list in 74, 75 was one of the erases became a Glare Heresy. Just for, again, the more mid-rangey decks. I expected a lot of Constellation-y decks at the Invitational, maybe a little less now, and 3 erase seemed like it was a little much anyway. So 2 Glares. Negate's really, really good. Even against the Dan Jessup's Asban deck was very good. Against the token decks, it's very good. There's an argument you can make for playing 1 or 2 Negates main, honestly. But for now, it's on the board. So
it's actually your 11th through 13th counters, I think.
Right. When you have all these counters post board, they're so cheap. You're countering Planeswalkers and stuff, and countering a Nissa with a Negate feels really good.
And then rounding things out.
Yeah, we got a Last Breath, for aggro decks and just for things that might slip through the cracks, and then Erase is very good against all the Coursers and Whips and all those enchantment-based decks as well. So.
All right. Well, it certainly seems like you've got a pretty strong handle on this deck.
Yes.
I think that playing it for months consecutively probably sets you up to know the ins and outs of it.
Absolutely, and it's definitely just in my wheelhouse. It's just the kind of deck I like playing. I like my back's against the wall, and I gotta grind and figure out what I need to do to survive, and then come out. So I like it. So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in and talking through it with us.
Absolutely.
Stick around. We've got plenty more coverage coming of the Players' Championship here in Roanoke.